Universal had an infamous run in classic horror in the early stages of the 20s, and it ran mostly through the 50s. One of the last flicks in that run was The Mole People. It's only fair to experience this watch through with Tom, Mike, and Crow, of course. Although Dr. Gory really isn't feeling this one, The Mole People is probably my favorite Universal horror. At least it's my favorite one that never got a sequel, and today still hasn't even been remade in large. There's also an endless stream of models for the Mole People. Not a single figure I can find for the Elf People, though. My goal is to eventually get my hands on a legitimate screen-used mask or hands, if any still exist. But so far I've amassed a decent Mole People collection, including vintage Mexican lobby cards, a signed card by one of the suit actors, and a bunch more random stuff. The actual movie starts out a bit slow, then ramps up to more John Agar nonsense, but eventually stuff starts to pop off. This group of archaeologists discover evidence of a hidden Sumerian splinter civilization that survived the flood of Noah's Ark on top of this random mountain. They make it to the top of the mountain and find evidence of this ancient civilization and these mannequin people after more Agar nonsense.
Oh, movie, I'm not a praying man, but if you can hear me, please kill John Agar.
He'll be gone.
One of the archaeologists falls through a convenient crack in the earth. One strange earthquake later, they decide to go down, and what we learn is 100 feet to find their obviously dead friend. But once they get down there, a rock slide kills another explorer, one of their friends, and entombs the remaining trio. What a bunch of idiots. And of course it gets worse. Not only do we get a glimpse of the Mole People, but we find these elven humanoids who find the trio and take them before the king and Alfred Pennyworth. They lie their way to god status, but after a mole man kills one of their trio, cracks in their lives start to form. Agar finds a love interest in a slave woman, and we learn more about this underground culture. They've enslaved the Mole People to harvest mushrooms.
You ever hear of anyone smoking dried mushrooms?
Sure.
There's a lot of violent mole whipping, but Agar and his remaining homie use their flashlights to assert dominance over the elf people. And they help the Mole People, for some reason. But when the Keebler cookie bakers learn of the death of the so-called god, they try to execute them. Agar and his friend are put in the light, but the slave girl, Adele, raises a mole rebellion. They send our heroes to what is known as the light, and although it takes more than a touch to take their powers away, the Mole People will overpower the slave owners pretty quickly. Which begs the question, why didn't they already do this, hundreds of years ago? But Alfred versus the Mole Man wasn't ideally the Marvel matchup I had in mind, but they're quickly overwhelmed. The Mole People bust down the door, light cascades, sending the Mole People running deeper into the mountain, leaving Adele alone with the two gods. They realize the light is actually kind of like a sunroof, and they can climb their way back to the top of the mountain. It seems all in good, but all of a sudden another random earthquake sends Adele running, straight under a pillar to catch it or something. She obviously dies, yet for no reason the movie just ends. As, the tombs start getting demolished under all this rubble. No sequel hook for this one. Apparently the ending was changed to kill Adele, so not promote interracial dating, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Not only do I hate this 1950s thought process, but if you had to kill Adele, have one of the elves do it, or have her stay down there unwilling to come up with the gods and die with her kingdom, not just randomly run under a pillar. I guess reshooting 2 weeks after filming, this is the best you could do, but still kinda sucks. Nonetheless, this classic was shot in 17 days, and although it has a lot of filler, the Mole People designs are just too good to complain about, and I truly have an unwilling love for this movie. I don't know why. There's also a lot of continuity errors that I caught on watching this over my many viewings. Internet Archive has a list of what they found is pretty concisive. My favorite is that Adele is Ada in the credits, and the Mole People magazine adaptation, her name is Giselle, makes sense. Overall, it's one of my favorite films, much like Frankenhooker. I really have no reason why, but for me, it's a must-watch. Such a classic movie.
Impotent priest with a terminal illness and occasional herpes and Emma hologram on the run from the law. Well, that narrows it down.
But with your cylinder of fire, you could bring them under control.
Why, thank you. Oh, you mean the flashlight. Okay.